Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to the Hybrid Network, and the well for Stephen King news has been dry for quite some time, but we've actually got some pretty exciting news. Exciting to me anyway, as it looks like thanks to it, we're going to be getting another update of a horror classic, Pet Sematary. So, for those that aren't familiar, Pet Sematary is actually one of Stephen King's most recognizable works, a story about a family that faces terrible loss when their youngest child has their life taken from them. Driven by grief, the father, Lewis Creed, buries his son in a pet cemetery located on top of an ancient Indian burial ground, where his son's body returns, but something evil has occupied it. The story actually had been adapted into a feature film, directed in 1989 by Mary Lambert and scripted by King himself. As with some of King's other well-known projects, a remake to Pet Sematary has been in the works for a while, being rumored since I believe 2011, with several directors hoping to take a crack at it over the years. Just recently, Andy and Barbara Muschietti, the director-producer sibling team for the new It film, had expressed interest in tackling the property after part 2, but it seems like the project will be moving on ahead without them, as yes, we have official word on who will be directing the project. This new film is set to be directed by Starry Eyes duo Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmer, with the project finally picking up steam after we last heard about it back in 2014 when it was revealed that Jeff Bueller would be taking the reins on the script. Apparently they're working on a previous draft by David Kajanic, according to Variety, who broke the news, but what interests me is that I think in 2014 or 15 Bueller actually spoke about how they were taking a look at a Matt Greenberg rendition of the script, alongside the previously attached director Juan Carlos Fresnadilla, before they fell by the wayside. So it's actually kind of interesting that they're going back farther than that to look at an earlier script, or maybe I'm looking too much into it, who knows, but for the most part I'm actually pretty excited about this. Real talk, cause I think I've only ever mentioned this once, but Pet Sematary is actually one of my favorite King stories. It was the very first one I had ever read back in high school, and something about it really stuck with me reading it at such a young age because, and I think King himself has even mentioned this, it's probably one of the darkest and most depressing things he's ever written. It's this really twisted tale of grief and loss. It's like this horror-centric look at death and our willingness to accept it. Not to mention just the actual story itself is pretty unnerving, with strong building of tension and payoff leading to it actually being one of the few King books that really shook me. And the actual film adaptation itself is pretty creepy in a lot of places, so I'm only hopeful to see what they can bring to this new adaptation and whether or not it can actually terrify me like it did when I was younger. I'd also like to point out that this was one of the films I mentioned in that list of King stories that need remakes, so one down, two to go. But that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for watching, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all of our content as it comes out. Go ahead and like us on Facebook, and give us a follow on Twitter if you haven't already. And if you want to help support us so we can continue to grow and improve, consider donating to our Patreon page. Thank you all again, and we'll catch you all next time.